Hello and welcome to this podcast, which doesn't have a name yet because I have no idea what to name it. I am joined here today by my very two good friends, Hero and Red. Do you two want to introduce yourselves?
You go first, Hero.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'm Hero. I make machinima sometimes, and this is Red.
I also make machinima sometimes.
And we are going here today to talk about Halo Infinite's multiplayer, what do we think about the current state of Halo, and some other questions. So, I guess we can start with the first question. You okay with that?
Sure.
Alright.
Yeah, sounds great.
Well, since Halo Infinite launched, Halo Infinite's multiplayer has been on quite of a journey. So, I wanted to first start with the podcast with what do we think about Halo Infinite's multiplayer? What do you think about it then versus now? And, well, how does it compare to other Halo games a little bit? Who want to start?
Hero, you go first.
Okay. I feel like Halo Infinite's multiplayer has come quite a long way, and it just feels unfair to compare it to other multiplayers because they're games you have to pay for, so all the cosmetics in the game were unlockable. And that's just my big issue with it. Like, I would have paid like $60 or $70 for Halo Infinite if I got it in a way where the cosmetics didn't charge me money. Gameplay and everything else is okay though. Not my favorite, but it's decent. I don't know. I kind of just rambled on there.
No, it's fine. I mean, if you think about it, podcasts is just basically people just talking, so...
Yeah.
Oh,
I think Halo Infinite is... Oh, sorry. I was just going to conclude what I was saying. It's in a decent place right now, but it's not good enough for me to consider playing it all day or anything.
Yeah, I was in a pretty...
Yeah,
I kind of been in a similar boat. I do think Halo Infinite, like, gameplay-wise, it has very, I would say, weapon and gameplay movement and stuff, that's very solid. But, I don't know, it's something I noticed recently with the feel of the game. And I'm not just talking about graphics, but I mean just... something about the core gameplay itself feels... I don't know... I guess it just doesn't feel as smooth as I wanted to compared to like Halo 5, which I know is a strange title to compare it to, since it's very different from most Halo games. But something about it, I think it's a little bit with Magnum, actually. I don't know, I've always been a fan of like Halo 5's Magnum, Halo CE's Magnum, and you know, the battle rifle being like the dominant weapons, but you can still pick up other weapons for sort of different ranges. Yeah. But with Infinite, I don't know, it's something with that the AR is very dominant, and I guess as well it doesn't feel as satisfying to get a kill. And I guess the aesthetics of the game a little bit. Now it feels a little bit more Forgey, because the good maps are made in Forge, and if you try to play Slayer, you're most likely gonna end up in 343 map, and the early ones are pretty bad. Like, they're not terrible, but they're kind of boring. But I will say, I do like how all the updates have improved the game, like with Firefight. That's been a massive improvement. I do feel like it would be good if we could get some original maps in there, because I noticed it's most of the time just normal either BTB or Slayer maps, which I'm not a big fan of. And as you said, cosmetics is a big issue for me. I really don't like you have to pay for most of the stuff. I usually had a system when I was getting like back for my money by paying one battle pass. Now I accidentally purchased like some leveling up by pure accident by just me holding a controller, and now I can do that. And now I just feel, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't want to buy it, like pay for anything anymore. It's just waste of money in my opinion.
Yeah.
How about you, Red? I don't know if you play that much, but do you have any opinions on the multiplayer itself?
For Infinite?
Yes.
I played it a little bit back in April of I think that was like what 2022, 2023, something like that. So yeah, I kind of got off board a while back. I know that I will give them some credit that they've improved a lot. I think my biggest issue is the fact that they've already kind of driven away the majority of their crowd. Like I asked a bunch of people, it was what was it? I was asking people what they thought about like the current state of Halo Infinite, and it seemed like the majority of people were kind of split on between it's good but not worth coming back to, and then the other people were like they just stopped paying attention altogether. So I think like I don't want to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you know, since no one plays it now, it's still a horrible game, because I do give them credit for improving a lot. I think for me, I don't like the feel of it. It just doesn't feel like Halo. Like when I played the campaign for Halo Infinite, I really loved it, and then I kind of sat there and I thought more about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, man, this isn't Halo, but I can't put my finger on like why. So for me, with the multiplayer, I give them credit for working harder and still trying to fix it, but I don't know. For me, it's hard to say because I don't want to be all like, yeah, just jump ship, but like at the same time, I'm like, well, maybe like they should just jump ship and just be like, yeah, we screwed up with Halo Infinite. We're going to try to make another game better. Because I mean, for the most part, Halo Infinite was supposed to be like a reboot of the entire Halo series, which is why like, yeah, it like kind of felt like it didn't connect to Halo 5, but apparently it did connect to Halo 5 kind of in its own way.
Yeah, my personal guess for why it doesn't fully feel like Halo, I think it's actually the weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I think with sometimes it feels like some weapons are supposed to be like hit scan, but some feel like they're like a projectile, but it sort of looks hit scan at the same time. It's like it's hard to pinpoint whether a weapon is actually hit scan or not, and even then some weapons doesn't feel like a commando. It doesn't feel like it actually belongs in Halo. It feels like it's straight out of Call of Duty or something.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, it's something as well with the battle rifle. I feel like sometimes it could be like a super laser, and if you do mouse and keyboard, it's just really fucking hard to use.
Oh yeah, like there was a video I saw maybe a couple months ago where this guy, he was going through the history of like when 343 took over and they made Halo 4, and he was showing how like the developers apparently were like, they weren't copying Halo, they were copying Call of Duty to try and like mimic the way their guns work and stuff like that, their loadout screens and things like that. I think it was called like Halo 4 sucks more than you remember or something like that. It was like a video like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I remember.
I think I've probably seen it. I know, I do know that they were copying Call of Duty. It was pretty well known that they were doing that, at least in Halo 4. And I guess, I don't know, I was going somewhere, but now my mind just went blank. I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's all good.
Yeah, I thought I had a point on this in 1 second, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. But maybe it has to do with that, because if they really had been very open that they were trying to reach a broader audience, but in the end they just fumbled it.
Drove away their Halo audience, essentially.
Yeah.
Completely.
Which is kind of funny, because if you think about it, Halo 3 was the most sold video game, I think, almost of all time, if I'm not mistaken. It was
I believe that. I mean, me and my brother, we bought it on like the day it released.
I was like 3 years old when it came out, so.
Yeah, I only got the Halo games from my cousin when I was a little bit younger, and I'm very thankful for that. But I wasn't really around when the game launched, but I do know the history, and I feel Halo Infinite was very close to that. But something, well, lack of content is one thing, and second is just, I guess I feel like Infinite doesn't really reward you for playing for a long time, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think what gets me the most about it is like, what were you saying?
Oh, Infinite doesn't really. Oh, Do you mean Hero?
Wait, who are you? Sorry.
Okay.
Hero, were you saying something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just pretty much gonna agree that it just doesn't feel rewarding to play. The replayability of the campaign isn't that great either. So, like, the whole single player aspect is kind of, I guess, soiled for me at least.
Yeah.
And the multiplayer is, you have to be online for the multiplayer, and pretty much everything costs money in there. You know, it's kind of like, you wouldn't play Fortnite or Call of Duty multiplayer by yourself. And you always have to have friends with you. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's how Halo Infinite is. And finding a bunch of friends who really enjoy Halo Infinite is just kind of difficult because, I guess, of how they structured it. Or that's what I noticed.
Yeah, I try to get my friends to play Halo Infinite with me, and every time they say no. Even though the game is free, I guess it's nothing really. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think one of the biggest like disadvantages for me is like I like playing Halo and I like thinking about how I could use it for machinima, and the fact that like I have to essentially purchase all of my armor. I'm just like, oh man, well, if I kind of want like sometimes when I make videos, I would make the characters kind of look like their helmets would represent how they would actually look. So if everyone had like the standard default helmet, because I don't want to pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars just to buy like 8 to 12 different sets of armor, I'd be like, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's also an issue because like I don't have a lot of money that I could do it. Like someone like Rooster Teeth, maybe they could do something like that because it's just like, oh, well, they could get in contact with 343 and be like, hey, could we do this or something like that? But for me, well, not even just me, but like all kinds of Halo Machinima creators, like everyone's kind of stuck with like that default armor or just the armor that they have specifically for themselves. So I feel like that's also kind of a disadvantage. Like it hurts that I don't want to say replay value, but
that aspect.
Yeah, like the one thing I liked about Bungie was when they made their games, they were always trying so hard to like create things that could essentially be played like 50 years later and stuff like that. And like when 343 kind of came in, they were the ones who shut down the Halo 2 servers, the Halo 3 servers, and they were just always trying to find more ways to like save money and make money, and as opposed to Bungie, who was just interested in trying to make a fun game. Which I don't completely blame 343. I know a lot of what they were doing was because Microsoft was basically like holding their feet to the fire, but at the same time, I'm just like, I feel like the money over entertainment value is kind of what's hurting Halo right now.
Yeah, and as well as the entire thing with 343 that it, like a lot of people during what was it after Infinite launched, it was a lot of staff that was fired. I think it was something to do with it's a popular theory that when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, they like random fired a bunch of people from Microsoft in general, so that it can make room for them. I don't know if it's true. It's just a theory. It just happened that 343 was hit the most, but now they're hiring again. So hopefully, that aspect disappear a little bit. But so that thing with the old servers, I do understand if you have the Master Chief Collection for example, where all the games are already there. I feel like it is kind of strange to keep the old servers up. Like I do get that this well, one thing is it's sort of a nostalgic thing to be able to play on how the game on the 360 was. But at the same time, I feel if MCC exists, isn't it better for a game that I'm trying to find the right word, fairly represent the games? I feel like it's kind of unnecessary to keep the old servers open when barely anyone is on them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why it would make sense. I guess like for me, like what is it, like StarCraft and like Warcraft and games like that, they like still have like their servers up and things like that. And so for me, I'm just always like, well, I think it's also the fact that like a lot of people I knew back then who played Halo on like the Xbox 360, they had the games, the original games, and then when the MCC came out, they were like, I don't want to rebuy the game and then replay the game and have to re-earn all my armor and stuff like that, so I'm just gonna quit. And I was like, no, don't quit. You're one of the people I always played with. And so I think part of me is kind of bummed by that, because I feel like what 343 should be working to do is make sure that they are able to include everyone and stuff like that. Because one advantage I had with the Xbox is if I had like friends over, I had like 2 Xboxes, so I could have like a
split
like
screen
8
LAN
people
party.
play on the same screen. Wait, what?
A split screen LAN party. Basically.
Yeah. So I could do stuff like that, but with like the MCC, I'm kind of stuck because it's on my computer, and everyone kind of like needs their own.
I think you can do split screen on a computer. I do think that's very. I haven't figured out exactly to do that, but I believe it should be there. But I could be wrong.
It could be. I've never fully tried, because in my mind I was just like, well, I went to like the multiplayer thing and it didn't have like the option listed, so in my mind I was like, okay, I guess that's not an option. But yeah, I mean, I could see that being the case. I mean, it's probably not like too bad. Actually, maybe I should try and see if I can do that. That was just a side note. But yeah, if that issue's been addressed, then I guess I really don't have much to complain about there. So
yeah. Well, let's hope I don't giving you false hope. Because sometimes I believe I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I would love to at some point, like when having friends over, to like split screen stuff, but especially with the newer Halo games, that's impossible to do. And I feel like with Infinite, it's kind of hard to just host a fun LAN party when you can not even split screen the game. Though funny enough,
can you split screen in Halo Infinite or no?
You cannot. It is 100% impossible to do. Oh no, actually no. That was that's actually a lie.
What do you mean?
You can glitch yourself into campaign split screen, but you have to glitch your way into it. It isn't a feature though. Those who have tried it have mentioned it works almost flawlessly. Like it's no problem with it.
I remember it was like crazy because people were glitching their way in, and 343 said they were going to use the resources that they had to make it possible to do other stuff in the multiplayer. And, I mean, if people can just bug their way through it, it has to be in the game, you know.
It's in the file somewhere.
At some point. Yeah, it's in the files.
But I believe...
I feel like if they really wanted to, they could just do it.
At the same time, the game is filled with like cut content. I believe if you go into the files, you're gonna find a bunch of like the Falcon, I believe some weapons, and split screen is one of them. Like Halo Infinite had a lot of cut content due to, well, development hell basically.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of stuff that kind of gets me, because in my mind I'm just like, they should have, well, I mean, especially with a game as big as Halo Infinite, because it was supposed to kind of redeem all of the faults that were done with Halo 5, and then it was like 343 kept going out, be like, here's a promise, here's a promise, here's another promise, here's a promise, here's a promise, and then they like broke all their promises, and everyone was just like, bro. For me, it was, I was just like, the analogy I always made was, you know, if you're dating someone and they repeatedly make promises to you and then they repeatedly break those promises, you should probably break up with them, because you don't want to like trust them. And for me, I was just like, it's kind of the same thing with like, I mean, obviously it's not exactly the same, but as far as like a game company, if they're just going to keep making promises to you, they just want your money as opposed to actually like giving you a like good quality product.
Though I believe that that's more of a thing with old management, because everyone who made those promises is gone now. And now every time 343 says something, it does happen. So I believe, at least in that regard, 343 is in a better state.
Yeah, Bonnie Ross and Frank O'Connor, I think, are gone now, aren't they?
Yes, they're gone. Yeah. Bonnie Ross had to leave due to family health.
That really sucks.
Yeah. But it is what it is sometimes. But on that note, I guess we can start moving to question 2, because I noticed we're already going into that point already, so...
Yeah!
What do we think of the current state of the Halo franchise? Like
Hero,
in-
you go first.
Halo franchise, it's... I feel like... I'm not sure if it's Microsoft or 343, but I feel like they're trying to alienate their core audience. You know, that was there back during the Bungie days, or even like the early 343 days. It's... I don't know, like you look at the Halo TV show, or just how Halo Infinite is, the differences in the story with how, you know, there's pretty much no military in the story. There's no... They pretty much got rid of the whole Band of Brothers kind of feeling that the old Halo games had.
Yeah,
There's
they...
no squads. I don't know. I just feel like it's very antisocial, or just... It's really hard to explain, but I just feel so barren when I play Halo Infinite. It just doesn't... It doesn't feel like Halo, and all their other projects don't feel like Halo to me.
It doesn't feel like it has a
So
community
it's-
behind it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I do get that, because actually there's a few points I did try to do, sort of trying to see sort of the social aspect of Halo Infinite, and wanted to do voice chat and just talked in general. I don't think it was only like one time I talked to a person, and I almost played like an entire day trying that. I did though get a text message though say, it's really cool that it was really fun that you did that, and I hope everything goes well. But you are correct in that regard, that it feels very barren because no one really talks. And then
Why is that?
I think it's just people are, well, you're basically talking to gamers. And God damn it! I immediately thought of the joke I was gonna make, and I immediately thought, oh my god, that's so fucking dumb. Because it's so fucking true. Oh. But
Yeah.
like, I feel like nowadays people are very like antisocial in a way that they just want to play games. If like, I believe in 360 it was more like it was almost automatically turned on that you were in like voice chat. Nowadays it's automatically turned off, and people don't really want to turn it on just to talk with someone they don't know. Though funny enough, that's how people usually made friends back in the day. You know, that's how you make friends. You talk with people.
Yeah.
Which I feel like today's generation is starting to forget.
Sadly.
Yes. But what do you think, rather in general, about state of the franchise?
The current state of just Halo in general, or like Halo Infinite?
Halo in general.
Oh gosh. Well, so I don't know. For me personally, I've been like experiencing like Halo fatigue for like the first time in my entire life, which was like putting me off like extremely, because I was just like, this is the first time I've ever like just not been interested in Halo. Like after I played Halo Infinite, I was so done with it, and I was playing MCC, and I was getting a little bored of it, and there was a Halo TV show that came out, and I watched, I don't know, I think I watched like the first 20 minutes of it, and I gave up because that scene where the elites were attacking those people, and then the Spartans came and rescued them. I was just like, bro, this is so horrible to watch. And then
Yeah.
I kind of gave up on that, and then I started reading the Halo novels, which I read, what was it? Fall of Reach. I read Contact Harvest, The Flood. I was on First Strike, and then I kind of started to lose interest around that time when I was reading First Strike. It was at the part where like Master Chief and all of them were going back to Reach to try to save as many of the Spartans as they could, and for some reason I just couldn't like bring myself to like just like read it. And then I was like, oh, I'll just go make some videos. So I was trying to make videos, and I was just like so like bored of just making Halo Machinima, and I was just like, why am I feeling this way? So I did like a poll on my channel, and I was asking people if they were having like Halo fatigue, and it was like majority of people were like, yeah, I have Halo fatigue now, and other people were like, no, I think it was like 80% of the people said like, yeah, I have Halo fatigue now. And I was just like, man, okay, so I feel a little better knowing that it's not just me. But so yeah, I was asking my friends, and I was like, what do you guys think? Like, what are your thoughts on Halo? And they're just like, I don't play Halo anymore. It's just boring. And that was like driving me crazy and bumming me out so much, because I was just like, man, for the first time in my life, I'm looking at like all of these people who are like hardcore suffering from like Halo fatigue, including myself, which for the longest time I've like pushed to try to like keep it around because for me, it's just nice, simple escapism. But it was like I didn't even like feel like playing. I didn't feel like playing Halo Reach on the Xbox with the original game, or I didn't feel like playing on MCC. And I don't know. I haven't really been on it lately, so I feel like a lot of the choices that 343 has made lately have been like just absolutely horrible. You know, like I said, their whole goal is not about entertainment. It's just about like trying to make as much money as possible. The same thing with like, Halo Infinite. They wanted the game to be free so that everyone would play it, and then they would go in the game and buy all the additional items and stuff like that. So I don't know. My overall opinion of where Halo is right now is it's definitely in a very bad place. I don't know if it's dead and completely over with, but
I wouldn't say that.
You would say that?
No, I wouldn't say Halo is dead, but I do agree with that. I felt it.
Dying.
Yeah, I felt it too, the fatigue, but I believe it comes from another place. I believe it's from. It doesn't feel like the Halo franchise is nearing any end anytime soon, and every time that happens, well, people just lose interest over time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I know you haven't watched AOT yet, or maybe you have and I don't know about it, but as far as I know, you haven't watched it. And when I finished AOT, I did feel like I'm so happy it's over. And now I've, normally moved on, but I still keep that as a precious memory. But with Halo, it never ends. And I feel like that's sort of a thing with most franchise nowadays. Nothing ends.
Yeah.
And when nothing ends, it's easier to feel fatigue. Like, look at Star Wars. Nobody cares about it nowadays. Like, there's like a small hardcore audience that just eats everything up. But those people, well, when Star Wars die, they're just gonna move on to the next thing anyway. And they're a very small minority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, wouldn't you say that, like, maybe Disney had a role to play in, like, the current state of Star Wars? Because, I mean, like, even for me, like, I think what kind of got me was a lot of their, like, choices and how they were trying to insert, like, identity politics into the story. And it was, like, instead of coming out and just, like, making a story, all they did was talk about how toxic white man baby neo-Nazis were ruining the franchise. And I think a lot of, like women and black people I knew were just like, what are you talking about? I didn't like it. I'm not a white toxic neo-Nazi male white baby.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm black myself, and I mean, I feel kind of like with how they did Finn's character specifically. He was just there to hit a diversity quota. He had no merit on the story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like if they really wanted to do something, they could have, like, at least given him character. I would rather, feel relatability in a character that's white than have, a character that's my race just there so they can hit a little checkbox, personally.
Yeah. I agree with Finn, because I actually really liked Finn in Force Awakens, but onwards I was just thinking, why are they ruining him? Like, you had, like, a very good character here. A man defecting from an army that he's been raised by. And then you just fuck it up. And I'm like,
yeah.
Is this the character you're trying to make black people feel empowered? Like, you had if they went with what they were trying to do with Force Awakens, just kept going, I think we will talk differently about him, but I mean, even the actor hated the direction he went.
Yeah, John Boyega, he said he really didn't like Finn. He said he liked the way he started out, but he said he hated the way he ended.
Yeah, and I agree, like, they just made him into, one, a race simp, and two, just, well, basically just an idiot. Like, in the second movie when he was watching, this place is amazing. And then, like, this, what was the name?
Planet.
Yeah, what was her name? Rose that he was with in The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was pointing out something Finn already fucking knew.
Yeah.
And I heard a very good point once that the roles should have been reversed. Like Finn should have been one pointing that out, and Rose should be like in awe of this, like this money, like this riches and money. But unfortunately, Ryan Johnson doesn't agree.
Yeah.
Completely derailed Star Wars for me. Because he just wanted to undo everything.
Yeah, that was another thing that was kind of weird. He was like, undo the past, and then it was like no one liked it because it wasn't Star Wars.
Yeah, I feel like it's one thing to try to do something new. It's another thing to go against everything that let's say you're doing like Star Wars. It's then very disrespectful if you go against everything, one, the previous movie set up, and two, break the rules of the universe itself, like the Holdo maneuver. Like, yeah. I was watching a video of Zanny when, by the way, Red, have you seen Ahsoka? Well,
yeah, I
watched it. I forgot. You and I discussed on Twitter. Goddamn, I'm losing my mind.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, but remember when they were doing like that giant hyperspace ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing on that video with Zanny, one of his sons kept saying, "Oh, they're doing the Holdo maneuver." And I'm just thinking, that's kind of, why didn't they do it, basically? I mean, I know why it's a fucking dumb idea, but if you think about it, in the universe, in the canon, that works. So why didn't it happen there? What was so special about that occasion?
You mean in The Last Jedi? Why didn't
No,
work,
I mean, in Ahsoka. Why didn't it happen there if it's established in The Last Jedi that is possible? Even if it's a dumb idea, why didn't it happen? And then you sort of realize, oh, that's because the writers realized it was a dumb idea. But still, like, that shows that there's no really anyone that keeps, like, sort of a quality check, really. Like, some people do something stupid, some people try to correct that stupidity, but people wouldn't have to correct that stupidity if you didn't break the rules in the first place. And I feel like he was more going for like this artistic scene, like visually looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
But in practice, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Also, we've gotten very off topic.
Yeah.
Do you want to hop back to the Halo stuff?
Yes.
I don't know, I just want to help you in editing.
Oh, yeah.
That's appreciated. But, yeah. With how... I guess we can... There's a similar point in Halo. Like, they constantly need to, like, rectify in Halo. Halo 4 had a good start. Then Halo 5 needed to fuck everything up. And then Halo Infinite just... It feels like it has no direction. Like, it feels like it's a part of a story, not the finale we were expecting it to be. And I feel like
what are those alien creatures that were in Halo Infinite that, like, we don't know anything about?
Oh, the Endless.
Yeah. Like, I still don't know anything about them.
No one knows. Like, I don't think it's anything... There's nothing I've heard it from the canon, the lore, that even addresses them. Like,
that's the kind of stuff that gets me, because when you see stuff like that, you're just like... Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think how to say this, because, like, I feel like we don't have anything coming up at them. Like, have they said what they're doing? Because
yeah, they have actually...
They're supposed to be DLC for the campaign, but I was also told that they're not going to do that now. And now I'm like, okay, well, if they don't do that, then we've got so many, like, plot holes and things like that aren't going to get filled.
As I understand it, they're not doing campaign DLC, but they are moving on from Infinite. I believe they're not doing a 10-year plan anymore. They're, as what people, take this with a very big grain of salt. This is not proof. This is just what people expect and what is hinted at from, I believe, 343. But this could change. Yeah. Infinite will last up to Season 10. After that, Infinite's gonna be done.
Yeah,
And
I heard they had like a new project for like Battle Royale or something like that.
like I think
It's supposed to come out like at the end of Infinite's life cycle. Then they're
I,
gonna do a story after that. That's what I heard.
as I understand, the Battle Royale that was nicknamed Tatanka, that is cancelled. That's not happening. They're doing something else now, and they're working on like a new project. I believe rehiring the campaign team, so they might be working on like a spin-off game, which I am actually would be kind of excited to see. But we have no confirmation of what kind of game is actually being developed. We do know that Infinite is gonna get a new UI though.
Yeah.
Because they hired a new company. What was it? Do any of you know what's called?
I'm kind of out of the loop. I have absolutely no idea what they're doing or what their names are called.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's basically
I just see a little post on Instagram.
yeah.
That's where I get all my information from, which probably isn't a good thing.
I usually get it from YouTube. That's mostly my news source. And they apparently are gonna revamp the entire UI. They did start the UI we have now in Infinite. Is actually their work. It's sort of the beginning of what they are planning to do. But I believe they are working on like a overhaul of the UI, which, thank Christ, I hope we get that, because that UI I hated. It is so fucking boring. Like compared to like Halo.
Miserable to sort through.
Say again.
It is miserable to sort through.
Yeah, I feel like aesthetically it's really fucking boring. Like even Halo 5, I believe, had a more like pleasing UI. Because I feel, at least there, everything was like separated in like campaign, multiplayer. Now it just all the game modes are like in a single. What is it called? They're like just layered on top of each other, and you have to scroll down to get to the game mode instead of like, here's the social mode, here's the competitive mode, and this is something else. Like, just do that, like how every single fucking Halo game has done it. Like,
Did they say why they went with that?
I used to believe that because the game was rushed, and that was like a early, because it looks like a early something you will have like in a very, very rough draft of like a UI, not something you actually
like
have.
Yeah,
like in a beta, but that never changed. So, but hopefully we'll get a actual Halo UI and not just this blocky, as someone noted, like a Netflix UI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we're moving away from that, because I feel that's just really boring to look at.
Yeah.
Like compared to Halo 3, it almost feels like the UI has a character of its own. Like it is part of the Halo universe itself. While this one feels like just boring UI number 3552.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess we can move on to the next question if none of you have anything more to mention.
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we all have heard all the news, but I'm curious, where do you want the franchise to go?
Who do you want to go first?
Hero, do you want to go first so I can collect my thoughts on that one?
I can begin if it helps.
All right. Yeah, I would like you to begin if that's okay.
All right. What I would want the franchise to go is we sort of have an ending in mind for Master Chief. Because at least then, when he's gone, if 343 would really, and I mean really, want to continue this franchise, I feel like it's time to let Master Chief go. Because at least then, he will not be like dragged along in a franchise that keeps going. At least at some point we can feel like his character has a finale, because Steve Down's not going to be here forever. And I'd rather have him sort of get to like finish his character that he's voiced for so many years than having Master Chief being either replaced or just completely like out of nowhere removed. It will feel like sort of almost disrespectful to the character and the voice actor himself. So where I would want to go is either we do a proper trilogy or just 1 or 2 games where we sort of set up this is Master Chief's last run. This is his final fight, and when that fight happens, you could have him either just do as he did in Halo 3, or he just retires. Because if you think about the character himself, I'm not talking about in universe. I believe he's starting to reach like 50, almost like his 60s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let the guy fucking rest. And it will also be like a fine into his character. He finally can be something more than a weapon, something more than just a machine, which I believe like Halo 4 set up. Which it feels like every other fucking Halo game is trying to forget that they did.
Yeah.
Like in Halo 5, when they completely went away from that, I just think, why? Like, you have a great character arc for him. Why fuck it up and just forget about it? And Infinite is hinting at it, but never really do anything with it. So, have him retire and just let him, be at peace for once. And then you can just do your spin-offs and maybe sequels with a new character. Then you can do more with. Give some, fresh blood into the franchise, but leave Master Chief behind. And then I guess just focus on making quality products, or, well, it will be my wishful thinking, but I know this is not going to happen. Have the franchise end in general. Like, move on from Halo. Make something new.
Yeah.
That's what I would wanted it to go, but realistically, I think the best thing we can hope for is letting Master Chief have his run and have his story end.
Yeah. So, for me, I don't know. I'm kind of at a point where I just want Halo to end in general, because I feel like 343 has kind of already done a lot of damage to it, and they've kind of driven away their core audience and replaced for an audience that doesn't really care about Halo. So for me overall, I feel like they've it's probably better if they just end it instead of let it keep suffering the way that it is. So I think like it would be kind of weird to end it after Halo Infinite, but for the most part I'm kind of like, well, you could just kind of make it end like one of those things where it's like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Well, I don't know. I guess they did have that ending with Aatrox, so maybe that would kind of be a bit of a cliffhanger. But you were talking about like, oh, it'd be nice if they sent like Master Chief on his way. But if there's one thing I know about the UNSC, they don't really care about your happiness. They care about getting their jobs done, even if it means
that's more Oni, I believe.
Oh, Oni, yeah, Oni. My bad. I was trying to think of who were the weird ones with the little round table where they kept interrogating people.
That's Oni. That's Oni.
Yeah. So, like I remember in the novel, what's his name, Admiral Cole. He's supposed to be like the greatest UNSC, like leader of like ships, and he like ended up destroying like 100 Covenant ships at once by like blowing up a horrible planet.
No, he made a sun go supernova.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So, I feel like they wouldn't even let him retire, and it like there's kind of like a rumor that he actually just like did that, but he used like slip space to escape, and they said that was kind of like his only way out, so that he could go and retire. So I feel like they wouldn't want Master Chief; they would just essentially use him, But I don't know. I mean, the more I look into the lore that was created under Bungie, the more I'm just kind of like, ooh, they've really twisted this lore, like to the point where it's barely recognizable. Like, I've been learning about like how the humans were once Forerunners, and then I was like, wait a minute, that can't be right, because Halo 4 said that they were their own race, and then I went back and looked through the books, and then the books were like, yeah, humans are Forerunners, and that was the big secret at the end of Halo 3, where he's like, you are a Forerunner, and like little things like that. Like they kind of like screwed with the little stuff, they screwed with the big stuff, they screwed with kind of like the audience, the game dynamics, and things like that. So for me, I'm just kind of like, I feel like they should just end it right now. And then, I mean, maybe in like the future, like 5-10 years or something like that from now, they can come back and be like, all right, we're going to try to redo this and make it better. But I think right now where things are, they're not really bringing in new fans, and they've turned away a lot of their old fans. So I feel like they're better off just kind of like ending it with Halo Infinite and then just going on from there.
What do you think, Hero?
I think they can't afford to move away from Master Chief for this story. That's their most recognizable character. I just don't see them ever, doing that. But I do think that they should have an end in mind for their story. I mean, all stories should have an end. That's just how things are. They want to build a big universe that they can keep building on for the next decades to come. But I just think having no end in mind is just such a mistake. Like, look at the MCU, Star Wars, just all these other franchises with big corporations that have no end for their product in sight. I just don't think it's going to work out.
Which is sad, but if there's one thing, at least Attack on Titan has taught me, is that people will appreciate when things end. And it sort of taught me that it's okay, it's maybe scary that things are ending and sort of feels strange, but in the end, it feels great to know that a story could end on its own terms. Which I feel is like a very rare thing to see nowadays. Like even Castlevania that had an ending with season 4 now needs to have a new sequel series which has nothing to do with the original, and we're still following the same universe, and I feel, well, why? What's so important to follow these characters when none of the story points that was brought up in like the previous show isn't even there?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, your thing with Unity wouldn't let him, I feel like it would be fun to see him like Master just leaving on his own. Sort of, I know it's a kind of a trope, but the classic trope when a guy just leaves usually it's usually criminals just leaving that life behind them by just walking away.
Yeah.
I feel like you could do something that with Master Chief. He just leaves. Like he doesn't.
I think that could work.
Yeah, he just leaves the UNSC. Like maybe like he pretends that he dies and then he leaves and just lives a happy life for himself. Maybe even get Blue Team to join him, and they could sort of have this ending where they could finally just be people for once instead of these soldiers.
Yeah.
It could sort of show
I
like.
don't really know how you'd execute that though.
Yeah, well,
I
this
feel
is
like
just
very difficult. I know. It's just.
It's just a idea. But I feel like that's the best way. You either kill him off or you do that. If you keep him in the UNSC, because otherwise you would have to have him cryosleep, but then you just would feel like you can bring him back at any point, and that to me just feels. But then his story isn't finished. Because even in Halo 3, they could bring him back, and they did. 343 took the first opportunity to bring him back. So if you put in cryosleep again, then what will be different this time?
Yeah, it's kind of. I feel like it's kind of tricky now because it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about like how it's okay for things to end. I like looking back at like Halo 3, I kind of think to myself, I was like, Halo 3's ending, like, I mean, when it first happened, I wanted it to continue because, I was much younger then, and that was just how I wanted everything to be. Like, nothing has an ending. But now that I'm older, I'm just like, I think if Halo 3 had just ended where it was, the way it ended, it probably would have been, like, the best thing ever. And, like, now where they're just, like, constantly, like, cause I don't know, like, for me, if he leaves the way he does, like, even if they did make it work, I feel like it would just be kind of like repeating Halo 3's ending. Not that it'd be bad, it's just, for me, it would be like, man, I kind of wish they led with that as opposed to screwing everything up and then leading with that.
But in the end, we are not in control of the franchise. But hopefully
That's
we
true.
can. But hopefully one day we could see Master Chief sort of end in respectful way. I mean, the original idea was to have Master Chief being replaced with Locke, but they did fuck all with Locke, so people hated him. And now I believe he's dead, at least what people think. At least hinted by some brute having his helmet on his shoulder piece.
So, is he dead or? Well, I mean, I guess I asked because I have the what was it when Halo Mega Bloks was doing the they were doing the Halo Infinite series. Yeah, like they have a figure of Locke without the armor on, and it was a part of Halo Infinite. So I was like, is that supposed to be a hint that he's actually okay? He just like lost his armor, or has anyone like 343 confirmed any of that?
No one knows,
We don't
really.
know. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's funny that in from 4 to 5, everything could be explained by, oh, this happened in a novel. With Infinite, it's the opposite. No one fucking knows.
I think that's kind of what puts me off with Halo Infinite, is because like I don't really care too much for like the lore that came after like 343 got involved, but I still kind of want to know, because for me it's just I don't know, I guess like it starts conversation, you know, but like if nobody knows, it's like you can't really go anywhere with that, except everyone could all just agree that they don't know.
Which I find it funny to be like, this is like the first time Halo fans in general have no clue. Because before it was like, oh, some fans do know, some fans don't. With Bungie, it was like, you know, because you know, you research it, but it was never like the games forced you to ask those questions, but it was there if you were curious. With 3 is more like half the stories in the books. Even like when it comes to Halo 4, I believe most of the questions in Halo 4 would be sort of like, it wouldn't be such a controversy with the whole Forerunner thing if Halo 5 sort of answered most of those questions and sort of showcased that. But
yeah,
they didn't. Sort of, where did Dida go? Oh, he died in a comic book. He was composed. I'm like, what? Why did
that was
that was the most off-putting for me. I was expecting to be in Halo 5, and when he wasn't there, I was like, huh, where did he go?
Yeah, and then we have like Warden. And then we have
finished it in a comic book.
Yeah, and then we have Warden Eternal. The same boss fucking 7 times.
What happened to him?
Oh, yeah,
no one knows.
God dang it.
What happened to the AI uprising?
We assume
No
he
one
died
knows.
of Cortana, but we don't know.
Like the only
That's kind
thing
of like unsettling.
Yeah, the only thing we know about the whole Halo 5 story arc is, well, Cortana had a change of heart. That's all we know. Well, we do know in Halo Infinite that she did some bad stuff, killing some Spartan Force and yada yada yada, destroyed Aatrox's home planet. But other than that, we know fuck all what happened to the Created, the Prometheans, and Fire Team. Like, I believe we know a little bit about happened to Fire Team Osiris and Blue Team, but that's barely because we have the audio logs. Other than that, I don't know. I don't even know we know fuck all. The only thing I believe we do know is what happened before, but what happened after, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's like, I know for me, when I see that stuff, it almost feels like the people who are making this, they really aren't interested in the story. They're just trying to create a way to make a profit off of the people. Because with like Bungie, and like Bungie had their flaws. I'm not going to be like the guy who's like, oh yeah, Bungie was flawless in everything they did.
Jackal snipers.
I mean, like, Bungie, at least they kind of had like a general idea of where their story was going. You know, like you kind of like see hints from like Combat Evolved up until like the book Contact Harvest, which came out after Halo 3 and stuff like that. You see like all these little keys, like hints and clues and details, and at the end of the day, all of them are connected, and there's nothing that's like super. Well, the other thing that gets me is I like the idea that the story could be complete whether you read the books or not. I don't like that the story
That's how it
is
should
incomplete.
be.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like they did the same thing with like Star Wars. It was like there were all these like secrets, and I didn't know what was going on, and everyone was like, "Oh, you had to read the book, or you had to read the extended dialogue paper thingy," and I'm just like, I just want to watch the movie. I don't like care. Like that's what Lucas did with the original movies. You didn't have to know like what Luke was doing. You just knew that he was training, and then he came back, and you're like, "Oh, okay, he's a Jedi Knight." That's pretty easy to like piece together. But like, what was his name? The Didact. You're just like, oh man, I wonder what happened to him. He fell off. Are we gonna see him again? No, he's dead. Oh, so he died from falling off? No, he died in this one battle over here. You're like, wait, what? What battle over where? And then you're just like all these things happen. And on top of that, like, I don't know. It just feels like I think the biggest thing from like 343's Halo that like completely like infuriated me to like no end was that scene in Halo 4 where Cortana's all like, they're gonna replace me. They'll probably shut me down and give you another AI model, probably another Cortana model. And then Chief like looks her in the face and he's like, that's not going to happen.
And that literally happens in Halo.
Like Halo Infinite comes out. And that's exactly what happens. Yeah. I'm like, that's horrible story writing.
Yeah. I feel like that's was actually point. Oh, go ahead, Hiro.
No, I was just gonna say 343 overcorrects with their stories. They just don't know how to commit to what they want to do.
Yeah,
that's what I think their biggest issue with story writing is.
Yeah, there's also a thing. That's actually, you mentioned something with George Lucas, and that's the thing. He and Bungie had a similar philosophy, actually, which Dave Filoni has sort of overdone. But here's the thing: Bungie and George had this ideology of whatever happens in. We'll use Bungie in this case. Whatever happens in the games are canon. If the game says something differently, that is canon. And Marty O'Donnell was pretty open about it when he did an interview that how Bungie saw it is the Halo books was a really great thing, like they expanded the universe, but they were not gonna be forcing themselves to follow those novels if it meant they wanted to do something. If they wanted to do something different, that meant that they didn't want to feel like, oh, we have to do this because the novels did this. That's why we have Halo Reach in general. Marty even said at one point that he said, we're going against a lot of the things in the book here. And one of the, I believe one of the directors said, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, well, it is kind of good to sort of respect the books, but I actually agree with the director. You can't force yourself to follow external media that you have no control over. Because a lot of the books weren't created by Bungie. Right. But the Bungie just gave them their blessing. Whilst with 343, it's more of, they want to do this, what's it called? Injustice did this. Transmedia, I believe it's called.
I don't know if that's what it's called.
Well, it's I believe it's the idea that like comic books and video games sort of share sort of a continuity, and one of them sort of fills in the other. And definitely doesn't mean that everything is made by transgender people, but that's nothing I'm gonna go into.
Oh, okay. I think I get what you mean by that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna get cancelled now for some reason, but fuck it.
Yeah, like one thing I learned from Bungie was, because that was like a big issue with them. How I read the Fall of Reach book, and it doesn't really line up too well with the game Halo Reach, which for me I didn't really mind. Some people minded it, but Bungie came out and they were just like, apparently they didn't actually want people to make books. They wanted to just make the games, and that all of the lore for their story was only in the games. But I think it was like Microsoft who insisted that there needed to be books, because apparently the Master Chief, he wasn't supposed to be a Spartan. I think they said he was supposed to be a Mjolnir cyborg or something like that.
Well, actually, here's what I understand. Bungie actually had no problem with the books. They actually sort of really loved them. They just didn't want to feel restricted by them. That's why...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. And that's the thing with 343. I feel like they're sort of bound to whatever happens in the books needs to translate to the games. That's why, like, you know, if we don't have a character in this, we have to explain it away in a book, and people will accept it. But as one who studies writing and actually work on a book, if you explain something somewhere else, that's a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah.
And I also feel like that's gonna end up with a lot of people, different people having different visions. Because one author may feel this way, and a writer feels that way. And we saw what happened when multiple people try to do this, you know, do different things in the same franchise, in the same, like, sort of trilogy, you can call it. And it just never ends well. Whilst with Bungie, it was always one writer. What was his name? Jason, I believe it's called. What the fuck was his name? Oh my god, I should know this. Oh my god.
Which one?
The writer.
No,
the writer for Halo CE, Halo 2, and Halo 3.
Joe Staten.
Thank you, Joe Staten. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But Joe Staten, he was the consistent writer, except for a little bit of Halo 3. That was actually Marty that did a lot of the. I don't think fully the writing, but he was the one who came up with the story.
Yeah.
Fun story.
I heard, there's supposed to be like a dispute between like Joe Staten and another member of like Bungie or Microsoft, and so he had to like go on leave for like a short period of time.
No, that was because he was working on Contact Harvest. He was the writer of the book.
Yeah.
Which he wanted to do for a long time, and he did it during Halo 3's development, and he left it to Marty. And when Marty gave it, actually, fun fact, Marty is the reason Johnson is dead.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, Marty O'Donnell has openly said he was the reason Johnson is dead, because he wanted to make you believe that Master Chief was gonna die. And when Joe Staten came back and saw this, like, what? You're killing off Johnson? Because he didn't want to do it, but in the end they did, and they actually still argue about it, but they're sort of casual about it. But I thought it was a little bit of a funny thing
Oh my.
to mention. And
I never knew that.
yeah, it actually was kind of a surprise to me too when I heard it. I was like, wait, he was the one who wanted Johnson dead? I mean, it was a good idea because it did make you believe one is a sort of a sad end to a very beloved character, but it didn't feel disrespectful. But it also sort of made you believe that, oh my god, maybe Master Chief won't survive this. Maybe he actually is dead. That's also the reason why Miranda died as well. Marty compared to, what was it, Fireflies, where they did the same thing. But you know the scene where Cat gets shot in the head by the needle rifle?
Yeah.
That is actually inspired from Firefly, where spoil for Firefly. I don't know if you're gonna watch it or not, but there's a scene apparently where a guy is in the middle of telling a joke, he gets killed,
Dang.
and that's where he got the inspiration for Cat getting killed in the middle of a dialogue.
Oh, huh. Wow, dang.
As Marty said it, this is what Marty said about it. We copy from everyone.
Oh.
Yeah. But
Huh. Yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff.
I
I
believe it.
actually didn't know about that.
But that's something you never really get from 343 because, well, it feels like it's 100 writers trying to do 100 things. Well, Bungie had one writer, had a consistent vision. I don't know, I feel like I said vision, very strange there. But anyway, and when he wasn't there, he at least had his input in the end. He was always near the scene, like with ODST, he was there. In Halo 3, he was there at the end. Halo 2, he was the big reason we have the story we have. And he was one gonna do, the ending of Halo 2, but they never got around to do that. And Halo Combat Evolved as well. Like, he was there through the entire way. I don't know how much about Reach, but I believe he was still a big part of it.
Joe Staten was?
Yeah, Joe Staten. With Halo 4, the other Halo games, it felt like, well, as I said, a bunch of writers trying to do different things, and everyone trying to correct the other. Like with Star Wars, Ryan Reynolds. Oh no, that's not his fucking name. God damn, I forgot his name.
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson, thanks. Like, he tried to sort of correct what he believed was what Star Wars did wrong. with at least with Force Awakens, and yeah, that's why we got the movie we got, because he wanted to subvert expectations by killing off your main bad guy in the middle of a trilogy, which is a fucking dumb thing to do, but they did.
Yeah.
I feel like the best way to...
Yeah, go ahead, Red.
I feel like the best way to subvert someone's expectations is... did y'all ever see the movie Scott Pilgrim?
No, I haven't, but I don't mind spoilers, so you can go ahead.
Well, it's not really like a big spoiler. There's like a scene in the movie where the main character, he like calls one of the main bad guys who like steals his girlfriend. So he like calls him and he's like talking, asking about the girl, and he's like, "Is she there?" And he's like, "Let me check." And he's like, "Hey, baby, are you there?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's here." Then all of a sudden he goes, "Ah!" He's like, "Oh, dude, chill. What was that all about?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, I spilled hot chocolate on myself." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, that's not what I thought. I thought he was upset because of the girl." And I was like, dang, that was hilarious. Like, that whole movie was just like constantly subverting your expectations in like a way that was like done really well, where you just like expect one thing, and then when it doesn't happen, you're like, "Oh, okay, I see why he did that." And then you find out it was one other way, and you're like, "Oh, that's actually really hilarious. I didn't see that coming." Whereas like Ryan Johnson, he was just like, "Oh, guess what? Luke threw his lightsaber. He's actually the one who abandoned the Force." And you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess, sure."
Yeah, Luke is now a hobo who doesn't care about anything that happens in the galaxy. Yeah, that's not his character, but okay. And he just kept going and going and going.
Expectations. I feel like there's a difference between doing it right and just doing something random that people will not expect, that doesn't fit the characters.
It's like
a great example is The Walking Dead. They stretched that show out so long.
Yeah, doesn't it have like 10 seasons?
It's 11. I'm trying to finish it,
fuck.
but it's awful.
I was gonna start it. I did see a little bit of the first season, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it. Like, I do really like the Telltale's Walking Dead games, but I couldn't watch the live action show after hearing what happened.
Have you seen The Walking Dead, Red?
Me? No, I watched like I think like the first like 5-10 episodes of like season 1, and then I kind of didn't really get into it too much. Like, everyone I knew loved it, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it later, but then down the road everyone was like, don't watch it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like the first 3 seasons are good, then it just kind of falls off from there. They changed writers like multiple times.
They also changed directors multiple times.
It was just such a mess.
I mean,
directors, writers, all of it.
The first season was made, I don't know his name, but he did Mist. It was him, and he was gonna do season 2, even though he didn't really like what the studio wanted him to do with season 2. They wanted to cut the budget like crazy, and he didn't want them to do that, obviously. But he was gonna do it, but then he was fired. Like, Walking Dead is like a consistent shit show, but well, it almost is like with Halo as well. Like, it's a consistent shit show.
They killed off a certain character because they didn't want to pay the actor money for him to, because he was demanding more money. So they just
wait. It was
killed off his character.
Season 2, Ryan? Was that
No. This was way down the line.
Oh, okay.
This was season 8, I believe.
Oh, jeez.
Something like that. Yeah, because it was like a child actor, and he was about to turn 18, and they didn't want to pay him as an adult, so they just killed off his character randomly.
That's another thing I really hate. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I hate when people do stuff like that, when they write a story based on the actors. Like, for example, I know we're getting very off Halo, but I just want to mention this real quick. Vampire Diaries. Like,
I've never seen that.
Okay, it's a show about vampires, werewolves, and witches. Your typical vampire story. first season, the first couple season is good, but then he went to like the Walking Dead route and it just became worse and worse. But that's the thing. The reason a lot of the characters, especially the main bad guys, are still there was because the writer, which is a female, thought the actors were hot and didn't want to get rid of them. I am not joking. That was the reason I found out. And at that moment, I felt I'm so sick of. I'd rather have them recast a person with another actor than to just completely removing the character because an actor can't play them. I know an actor is a big part of what makes a character, but even then, I feel like it then starts to start this. What's the phrase? Domino effect, where the moment someone else wants to leave, you have to get rid of them, and your story completely changes. Maybe you had a big arc for this character, but then you have to end it because, oh, this actor wants to leave. We can't finish it because this actor doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Just, goddamn, so many stories. I feel like, especially TV, just gets affected by this, and I really don't like it.
Yeah, I feel like that happens quite often, unfortunately.
Any more questions for Halo, by the way?
Yeah, I know this is possibly going for a little long, but would you be mind for doing one final one?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we talked about a lot of Halo today, and I just thought, since you two are here, and you two have more experience than I do, I've dabbled in it, but I'm more a watcher and more so a voice actor a few times, but not that often, unfortunately. But I wish I was. What do you think about today's machinima? Where do you think they've gone? Why do you think they're not as, I guess, as popular as they seemed like back in the day? And what do you think about modern day machinimas in general, like their quality?
You can go first, Red.
Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on the overall state of Halo Machinima. I don't think it's dead. There have been times where I thought it was dead, but like people have made videos recently, and I think there is still an audience who craves that kind of nostalgic feel from like the Machinima videos from like 2009 and 10 and so on and stuff like that. And I think it could still work today. I think there's kind of a lot working against people. YouTube algorithms is definitely one thing. The kind of decline in the Halo games, I think that's also another issue. I think I had another... I always try to make like a list of things. I think I had like a list of 3. I forgot what the third thing was, but I think there's a lot working against people. But I think people can still do it. I was working on, I've been working on trying to start doing Machinima again. I took another break because I was making videos, and then like my channel wasn't getting as much traction, and I was just sitting there like, man, okay, I have to pick between balancing life and making videos, or balancing life really easily and not making videos. So part of me was put off a little bit when I started making videos again, and they weren't getting as much traction. So after thinking about it a little more, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I think I have some ideas that I can work on. But overall, I think the overall state of Halo Machinima is, I think it can stay around and survive because people still like Halo and they still like Machinima, because that's not really something that belongs to like 343 necessarily, as much as it like was kind of like Bungie's creation and stuff like that. And I think if you write good enough stories or entertaining enough videos, I think people will be drawn to that. One thing a lot of people have been telling me is that they like, one thing that every single person in the Machinima community does, well, okay, there's a few things a lot of people do that they're not, or they shouldn't be doing, is one thing that not really that they shouldn't be doing is I think they should probably just make less funny videos, because I think people kind of want something a little more serious and grounded. Like, I've seen a few in the past, I don't remember the names. It was like some Halo Machinima videos that came about like 2009 or 10. They're really good, but one thing I'm trying to get on telling people about is stop making trailers to all your videos, because like people will make they'll be like, all right, I'm going to start this big Halo Machinima project. And then they'll make like 19 trailers over the next 5 years. And then they finally make the actual video. And I'm just like, guys, all the time you spent into making those trailers, you probably could have just made the actual thing. Like, that's why for my zombie series, I never made a trailer, because I was like, I started writing the script in like 2018. And it's like, over the years, I've like probably scrapped it like 9 times and rewritten it. And I think it's at a good spot now where it's actually like good, but I never made a trailer because I knew if I made a trailer, it would have just been like complete garbage. It probably, I mean, obviously where I was back then isn't where I am now. So, but I mean, overall with Machinima, I think it can still work. I think you just got to kind of make things that people find entertaining.
What do you think, Hero? By the way, I just want to say, when you mentioned that with trailers, I just remember the video Hero released recently, when you brought that very point up, and I find that fucking hilarious. That's a really great video, I must say.
I thought of it for that reason, because I remember the video that Hero made, and I was like, oh my god, he's so right. It's so true. I see this all the time.
Yeah, I was like in a similar boat when I was younger. Actually, I believe I didn't do a trailer, but I did do a announcement that I'm working on it on YouTube, and that project never happened because I realized how big it was.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I'm not telling people that they can't make trailers or they can't make announcements. I'm just saying, like, people need to stop investing so much energy into making trailers. Like I said, like 19 trailers over the course of like 5 years, like some people do. I'm just like, guys, all the time you spend on these trailers, you could just spend on the actual video, and it would be just as great.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm currently in a project. I'm not getting paid for this. It's more for a resume I can use to get paid. But I'm helping this group that is trying to. I know it's kind of cringe, but this is not cringe, but it's kind of something I'm not really known for being a part of. So that's gonna be strange. But there's one person doing like a Minecraft thing, and I think it was like I don't know if it's called Machinima. It calls it roleplay for some reason. But I'm just a video editor, so I'm just editing it. But
wait, did you say role play or vol play?
Role play, not war play.
Sure.
Okay, if it was the first one, I would have never joined that. But I'm seeing it more as a Machinima made in Minecraft sort of thing, or maybe something similar. But
okay.
I'm just a video editor, and they're doing that very same mistake. That the person is trying to do thinking that she'd make a trailer. I'm asking them if they have all the footage done, because I know they don't have all the casting done and everything, and that person still thinks they should do a trailer. But I keep telling them, but we can't do a trailer if we don't have a finished product, because trailers in the end are a sort of there to hype for the thing you already made, not to announce that you're making something. That's called an announcement.
Yeah.
And that's not something you do in a video, because if you do in a video, you sort of overhype things. If you're doing it through text as a tweet, that is another thing. That's just, oh, this is being made, cool.
Yeah.
And that's a problem I ended up at one point. It was a project I was doing. It was called Project Nova. And yeah, I did sort of announcement asking people to help me. That thing never happened because I couldn't get enough people to do it.
Yeah, I think that's also kind of an issue.
That.
But I'll go into more in depth when it's my turn. Hero, what do you think?
The current state of Machinima?
Yes.
Or wait, is it the current state of Machinima or like Halo Machinima?
Wait, what?
Halo Machinima.
Yeah.
Halo Machinima, my bad.
Halo Machinima?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of with what Red said, I don't think Machinima necessarily is going to die anytime soon, because I know plenty of people who have stories that they want to tell in Halo. Sorry, my throat, I had to clear it.
You're good.
But I think people just stopped doing Halo for like a side gig. It's just purely hobby at this point. You know, it's just something you do when you have time on the side. It is a niche hobby, but as long as people will watch it, like if you have a good enough story, you'll... I don't know. I feel like Halo Machinima is here to stay for a bit. I guess about the whole trailer thing. I mean, I wrote out this whole series. I mean, you know a bit about it, Edvin.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Can I say the
wrote a
name of
whole
it?
thing out, but I mean, I guess if you want.
Yeah, I guess it will be easier to explain because I just want to check so I don't say by accident that
Well,
you say
no,
no,
I'm not
don't
gonna
say.
give details about it right now.
No. Okay.
But I was just saying that. I mean, I wrote a whole thing out, but I haven't made any real announcement about it because I only have like a sixth of it done, and it'd just be kind of weird to just post a trailer for something that's not even remotely finished yet. I don't know. I feel like if people stop trying to treat this hobby as like
A profession.
as like a corporate job, yeah, like a profession, I feel like I'm having trouble. Like, I didn't have my coffee, and that's my excuse right now
Oh no.
to try to put words onto this.
Yeah, here's turning into a. I want to say like it tried to do a pun with like alcoholic and coffee. I guess coffeeholic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got addicted to coffee early. I'm only 19, and I need it every day.
Yeah. I do tea instead. That's my thing.
It's a lot healthier.
Yeah. It just helped me. It just helps me calm the mind a little bit when I'm working on stuff.
Hero, what did you mean by like you said something about like side gig or something like that about like Halo Machinima?
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to use Halo Machinima as their main source of income or a big secondary source of income. They're like trying to push out like series every other day. And I know people that like they work hard to make sure that they can do that. And I mean, I respect it 100%. Like, I don't want to knock them for it.
Isn't the
But
Great Isaiah doing something like
They
that?
just, I don't really want to name people because it seems unprofessional or rude.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
But
That is kind of
a
fair,
lot
I
of
guess.
I know a lot of people do that, and they they even have a team of people working behind them or whatever. And I don't know, it seems really stressful to do that because the state Halo's in. If your videos don't get as many views because of the state of Halo, you might not make as much money, as much revenue. And I feel like that aspect itself will stress you out because even Rooster Teeth, like the biggest machinima conglomerate themselves, are they a conglomerate? I don't know.
I'm not
They're
certain.
having issues with Halo Machinima. So I mean, if you're gonna do Halo Machinima, I feel like you should just try to do it recreationally or just as a hobby. I mean, I'm not saying there's a problem with grinding to make your channel big or whatever. But I just feel like you should expect to either lose money, time, or it's just Halo Machinima isn't a great investment for your business. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I believe that's kind of fair. And personally, I believe that machinima sort of have. I would say it has fallen off. I'm not saying, as you said, it's not dead, but it feels more like not a lot of people are making it. And I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna go against what you both said. What I believe Red said most importantly. Or not most importantly, but what Red more stated, like the hardest.
Yeah.
No, I get
I
it.
feel like a lot of people are trying. I guess it also goes into what you were saying here a little bit about pushing content. I feel like a lot of people are just trying to use machinima for something far more serious than it should be. Like I believe you can do cool stuff like Red vs. Blue. They do serious stuff, but they embrace that it's a machinima based on a video game. And I feel like that's something machinima directors nowadays doesn't really think about, which was a trap I fell into when I was trying to do so. I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna make a Halo machinima, I'm gonna make a story using a video game, was what I was thinking. I feel like sometimes that idea of, oh, I had this great story comes in the way of actually making a entertaining machinima, because in the end, if you take your project too seriously, especially in a machinima form, it's sort of, I don't know what the right word is, but it sort of makes it hard to actually take seriously. Because in the end, you know that this is this is a video game. Like, it's different when you do like a fan animation, because you can see how much time and effort that went into it. Now, I'm not saying machinima doesn't take a lot of time and effort, but you can clearly see it's a video game, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean by that.
Like how it's hard to explain the art form to people, or...
Yeah, sort of like... It's one thing to make a Halo machinima, it's another thing to use video games to tell a serious story that doesn't really fit a machinima format. Like, if we compare to like... I'm gonna use up one thing I was gonna create. I was gonna explain it short. It was basically a sci-fi story with a world, Earth that is sort of destroyed. Well, most of Earth is destroyed and sort of sand covered. And Red vs. Blue. Red vs. Blue embraced that it was a machinima, and in the first seasons it was just a comedy. And later on when they do serious stuff, they still had that machinima comedy in it, which made you sort of... You could sort of take the serious stuff seriously. Because it wasn't taking itself seriously all the time.
Yeah.
And when they did only serious stuff, like they did with Season 9, I believe it was, when they would do all the freelancer stuff, they did it by using animation 100%, which, at least in my opinion, helped it to sort of... You could take it more seriously, because now it isn't just a bunch of video game characters talk. Now it is... You can almost connect them as people, because they were animated and moved like people, they sort of emoted like people, instead of just standing there up and down with their head. And fight scenes could be more interesting, more fun. Well, so let's just take example Project Noah's are working on. It would have just been basically what the freelancer stuff was going to do, but with jankiness of machinima, which would have made it very hard to take it seriously. At least in my opinion.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think I see what you mean by that.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I mean, I kind of have to disagree a little bit. As long as you have a really good story, solid voice acting, people can definitely overlook the machinima aspect of your project.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do serious stuff. I'm not saying that, and you can go fully serious. No. What I'm saying is, embrace that you are using a video game and not just doing a serious story and then try to force machinima to fit that. More so, embrace that you are making a machinima, base the story on that you're doing a video game story in a video game, not using a video game to tell a story in this case. Which I know it sounds strange, but I feel like that's yeah. Because if you use using a video game to tell a story, isn't it just better if you just told the story with a medium that fits it better, instead of telling a story that fits machinima, like you're telling a story that fits animation and telling a story that fits live action, instead of forcing a medium that doesn't really fit the project to fit the project. So trying to use two puzzle pieces doesn't really fit, and just trying to use a hammer to force them to fit, sort of thing. That's more of what I'm meaning, but I do get that.
It's just sometimes it can be difficult to really use any other medium like animation. That's difficult to pay for. Halo has built-in animations, you know.
Yeah, I'm not saying like a 10-year-old Timmy. I'm expecting 10-year-old Timmy to make a fully animated show, but just because it fits it. Because when he wants to just use a video game. But I'm saying for those people that you mentioned that trying to do this more of a job thing, I feel like if you do stories that is more of going against what machinima really are and how machinima is actually used, it sort of feels kind of hard to take it seriously. At least in my opinion.
Oh wait, that reminds me.
Yes.
Yeah, the third thing was the complainers. That's what it was. God dang, I knew I'd remember it sooner or later. The what is it? The State of Halo complainers. Dang, I forgot the other thing again.
You mean the second question?
Yeah, you were talking about like the State of Halo, and I said three things.
What do we think of the current state of Halo?
Yeah, I know. I had a list of three things. I remember it was the State of Halo, something else, and then I couldn't remember what the other thing was, and then I just remembered it was complainers. That's what it was.
Okay.
Not that I was saying y'all were complaining. It was more just I was thinking because in my head I was like, oh yeah, that reminds me of the people who are always coming out there are just all like, you can't make Halo Machinima like this way, or you can't make it that way. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. The other thing holding back the Machinima community was the community itself, because like you get a lot of the complainers who are like, they'll come in and they like break people down, and then the people are like demotivated and they don't want to like make videos anymore.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to like hijack what y'all were saying. I just like that jumped into my mind, and I was like, oh yeah, and then I was like, oh, I just jumped in and interrupted, so I should probably just run with it before I embarrass myself anymore.
Oh, it's completely fine. Don't worry. But I do agree with you on that. That sometimes the community itself, like the community itself, can make something really hard to make. Like just look at the fucking anime community. Like it was a thing in Japan that happened during when last season of AOT was airing, and people just said, "I don't care, just release the next episode." When there was a thing that it caused a lot of people to either get harmed or maybe lose their lives.
What?
Yeah, it was I believe it was like a storm that caused a lot of wreckage in Japan at one point, and the studio said we're gonna take a little break to, you know, sort of make sure that no one else gets harmed. People and most of the anime community was just, I don't care, just release the next episode. I don't give a fuck.
Oh my gosh!
And then people just doing inappropriate jokes about the one thing that happened in the show. I'm not gonna spoil it because I have had a tendency to do so to the wrong people. I'm sorry again. Here I spoiled AOT to your girlfriend. I'm so sorry. But
oh man,
Don't worry about it.
what were you two talking about earlier? Y'all were talking about the like using Sirius and Machinima.
I'm just saying what I meant was when people trying to force Machinima to fit a story that doesn't really fit a video game, instead of doing like what Rooster Teeth did when they made a story that could fit a video game, sort of having the serious moments but sort of still embracing that you're making a video game movie, we can call it. Yeah. Then it's just when then Rooster Teeth did more serious stuff. They used animation to sort of a medium that sort of fits it a little bit better, where you can do more exciting things and sort of really get into. You can sort of read body language, because when you do serious things, body language is going to be a very prominent thing, because most of the time when you're writing serious stories, you want to show emotions, and it's hard with a video game character. And
yeah.
But then again, I'm not saying that little Timmy that is like 10 years old who wants to make a Halo Machinima, wants to make a serious story, should pay for a bunch of animators to do all of that. But I'm just saying, for those people that do try to make a living out of this, it's, you know, those people usually don't think about Machinima as sort of a certain way to tell stories. They sort of think Machinima of a way to tell any story, which I believe is kind of incorrect thinking, in my opinion. But I would never, just because someone does it that way, I wouldn't really go say, oh, you can't do that, like the complainers in your videos. I'm not saying the complainers in the comments, I mean complainers, like the character complainer would try to say it.
Right.
That's sort of my point, and he was going through his point, which was, what was that? You said you don't agree with me?
Yes, I disagree. I mean, I think if it's an art form, so you should be able to, you know, express that however you feel. I mean, of course, some people won't be able to take, you know, your serious moments more serious because it's Machinima, but as long as, you know, you feel like you're conveying your message across or whatever you're trying to do with your Machinima, I mean, I feel like you can do serious or, extremely comedical. It just really depends.
And
I mean, I do get what you're saying, though. Sometimes, like, there's certain things that just don't fit with machinima. But overall, I think if you work hard enough, you can fit anything into your art form.
And I guess you're correct on that. Maybe it's just because I've seen a lot of machinima trying to do that, it always fails because they're trying to do it that way. Maybe that's why, but at least in my experience, every time someone tries to do that, and I even believe Nightmare Films, when he did, what was it, Living Dead? That was the series was called?
Running Dead.
Running Dead, yeah. I really enjoyed this series, but sometimes, maybe it was just his writing sometimes, especially one scene when some characters die out of nowhere. I did feel like it was kind of strange, sort of how it was almost, instead of writing the scene sort of that would fit machinima, he's sort of trying to use machinima to fit the scene, which is a little bit harder to do because machinima as an art form is still very restrictive. You're restricted to what the video game character can do. And I just feel like in that, especially in that scenario, that it just didn't really work. But that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tricky, based on my own personal experience, to make it work. But I think if you, I'm trying to think how to put this, you can always find a way. You just have to like kind of work with it, play with it, and I don't know, maybe go online and see what other people did, stuff like that. I mean, it's probably not as common to see videos like that, but it was kind of like the Inferno video I did, where everything was pitch black and somehow there was just like fire in the video and stuff like that. It was I went to a cave and I just put on 2 filters, and the Spartans could be seen, but the ground couldn't be seen because there was a small like shadow, but it was still, I was able to make it so it looked like there was essentially like nothing there. So I mean, I think you can always find ways to make it work. I think it's maybe like for some people it's probably just like they're short on time. They don't want to take the time to do it because they're eager to get it done, and they're probably just excited for it, or
they don't know how to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like things that are probably like in the way, or because I mean, even I mess up and I have like my own obstacles that I run into and stuff like that. So I can understand how some people, trying to think of a nice way to put this, not like mess up, but like they run into those roadblocks here and there. So I think you could probably make machinima serious. You just have to be willing to like take the time to find ways to make it work. I think the problem I had with Red vs. Blue is when it started to get more serious, it almost felt like it wasn't the same. Like the first season of Red vs. Blue, it was still serious. It's just that everyone was goofy, so their seriousness and their goofiness kind of like blended together to make it a decent comedy. So they still felt like a sitcom. Yeah, like they were, Simmons was the guy who's always kissing the Sarge's butt. Griff was just the lazy guy. The Sarge, he took himself too seriously, and Church took himself too seriously, and Tucker was trying to, it was like everyone kind of had like their thing, and they were goofy, but it still felt like real. And then as it progressed, they kind of started to become more like comedic versions of themselves, and then it tried to become serious, and then it almost felt like they were trying to take like 2 polar opposites and put them together. And I feel like maybe that's kind of where they started to mess up with like Red versus Blue and stuff.
Yeah, I do go to coming. I feel like just that problem for me personally happened after season 13. That's sort of where it was just what I mentioned, like when they were trying to do more serious stuff outside of they were doing serious stuff but not embracing that and making a video game movies, you can call it. Instead, they were just telling a story, and especially if you almost saw how they're using Forge, it sort of looked really fucking goofy. Like it didn't fit the tone at all.
Yeah.
And I guess, as they were using video game characters for those more serious scenes, and where they couldn't really use the game characters in that way, it sort of clashed with what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And plus, I don't think Red vs. Blue should have continued after season 13, but that's just my opinion, because 13 had such a perfect ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 wasn't bad. It was just a bunch of random side stories. I don't know if you really count that though.
I'm not really counting it. I see that as just bonus content, and I'm completely fine with that. Like, bonus content is one thing, but a continuation is another, because bonus content can be said whenever and just expand on things that if you don't want to see it, then you don't have to. But with season what was it, 14, 15, and 16, that was like, what the fuck? No, 15, 16, 17, my bad. That was just when they went, what the fuck is going on? We're doing time travel now? We're going about gods? You know, stuff like that just feels so strange.
Out of place.
Yeah, out of place. Not only in Red vs. Blue, but also like in Machinima in general. Because when you start doing that, it feels like, well, you're going against what the video game in general is about. So, how the fuck is that supposed to work?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's just how I feel.
That makes sense.
Yeah. By the way, one thing I've been curious about, because this is one thing what's been on my mind, like, how do you feel about getting people to help you with machinimas? Because I know for me personally, it's been I want to say a swear word, but for some reason I'm hesitant to use it, but it's been a real hardship when I try to do it to get people to help. I could get up to like 2 people at a time. How do you feel about it? Like, does it come easy for you, or is it like a big problem? Like, you just want to, I don't know, like burn down an orphanage just to get people? I don't know.
I think, like, even despite the amount of people who like follow my channel and the people who are like active in my Discord server, or just even in other Discord servers I know, I could still only get like probably like 2 to 5 people when I do like body acting and stuff like that, because I think like a lot of the people that started to follow Halo Machinima, it's kind of run its course for the most part, and I think like the overall group of people isn't as big as it used to be. Like, back then I was talking to people and they were like, yeah, it's easy to get like 16 people to body act for your videos, like no problem at all. But like, I don't know, just over time it feels like it's changed a great deal.
I just want to say to that person who said it to you, I was going to say on this, I fucking wish that was the case when I did it, but that was never the case. But here, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, finding people, it's difficult. You just have to build a community of people that like body acting, which that's not many people at all.
Not a lot of people are insane like that.
Nope.
But how do you feel about voice acting? Because I know with you, Red, you mentioned to me once that it's kind of hard to get voice actors. Have your view changed, or has it remained the same?
Lately it hasn't been too bad, surprisingly. I think one of my biggest issues is like people who, like, I promised they could be like a voice actor in a series of mine, and then once I promised them it, then they started to slack. But usually if it was like, I'd go to my server and I'd be like, hey, I need voice actors. I need this within the next like 3 hours. I'd get a pretty decent group of people who would come out and be like, oh, okay, yeah, here we go. Sometimes I'll get people who will do lines wrong, or they'll, say things wrong. But I feel like I haven't had too much of an issue with voice actors compared to like body actors. Like, voice actors seems a little more tolerable for me, and that's kind of why some of my videos recently I've been using a little more voice actors, because in the past it was a nightmare. But like nowadays it feels like it's kind of changed. I'm not sure, maybe people are just more into voice acting than body acting, so maybe everyone was just going for voice acting. But overall I'd say it hasn't been that bad, like overall.
By the way, out of curiosity, what
Yeah.
happened to the lines I did for you? What happened to that project?
Which one was that? You
Uh,
can
the one,
legit say
uh, the one when I basically screamed, "You fucking bastards! You goddamn fucking bastards!"
Oh, I think I know which one it is. Yeah, that's still in
yeah.
the works.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out sooner, but I like all like Christmas holidays, Thanksgiving holidays, and New Year's holidays. All those things kind of like slam dunk me, and I fell behind on everything, and then I had to like put off making videos. But yeah, that video will definitely be coming out. I'm not really sure when. Maybe in a month or two after I've taken care of another project.
Yeah, I'm not saying this to push you. I'm just saying this because I've been genuinely curious
Oh, yeah,
what happened
genuine
to it.
Curiosity.
And,
No, I understand. Like people ask me. Well, I get like two people. There are the people who ask, and then the people who demand. I don't mind when people ask, like, "Hey, whatever happened to that?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's still in the works." And then I get people who are like, they'll like keep asking me. They're like, "I need to know when that video is coming out." I'm like,
Where the fuck is that video? Where is it, man?
yeah, basically. But yeah, it should be in the works pretty soon. I think you also voice acted in something else because your voice sounds like another character in a different video. But I think I asked you to do that like months before the other one. So
I mean, I remember
yeah.
at least doing. I've done two voice. I remember doing one another, but I don't remember what that was. But I do remember doing one thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Hero, how did it go with deleting my lines?
Deleting your lines?
Well, you basically said you gave me announcer. You maybe wanted to do an announcer, and that never happened. So I'm curious, how did it go with that?
Oh, no. I mean, I want to finish the whole video before I do anything with it. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna use that because I just wanted to make a new opening for my video.
Okay.
I wrote like 5 different openings, so I was getting recordings of them all, and I just wanted to see which one worked best.
I guess that's fine.
So, I don't know if I'm gonna use yours though. Sorry.
It's
I'll
fine.
find something else for you to do. Don't worry.
Yeah, you don't feel like you have to force yourself, but if you ever need, I'm always here. And if you did need a squeaker voice, just let me know, because I can do that as well. And I just gonna have to tell you, that voice, children loves it. Like, I can just go,
Hello there, how you doing?
and they just come, and he says, "Can you do that again? Can you sound like the Grinch?" It's just fun. Yeah. Though the problem is they never stop asking. I could go there like every day, like work at that school. They just go, "Can you do that voice? Can you do the funny voice? Can you do the Grinch voice?" Yeah, but it's fun.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But what would you say?
So is that all the questions?
I guess we can do a final note while we're talking about machinima. What do you believe is the hardest thing with the machinima?
Hero, do you want to go first?
And now I talk about it with Halo. What's the hardest thing you do machinima Halo? I guess to.
Okay, I guess. I mean, just with how niche it is, I guess. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's just explaining what a Halo machinima is to somebody and the work that you put into it. I don't know, I feel like that's always really difficult to explain to people. Like, somewhat recently I was explaining to my girlfriend now what Halo machinima was.
Oh, wait, she doesn't know?
No, she knows. It's just she never really got into it.
I see.
I'll tell you about that later.
Alright.
But just in general, explaining that stuff to people is always difficult for me, at least.
Yeah.
People who don't really have an interest in it. That's the first thing that came to mind. What about you, Red?
One of my difficulties with Halo machinima.
What's the hardest thing you believe it? What's the hardest thing for you to make a machinima? What do you believe is the hardest thing to do? Or like
making a machinima?
Alright, what's the hardest part? What's the hardest? I feel like I'm trying to say a word, but I have no fucking clue how to say it. What is the hardest part about the process of making a machinima? in your opinion?
Oh, Hero, did you want to re-answer that?
Sure. Sorry, I guess I didn't understand your question.
No, it's fine.
No,
I
you're good.
explained it pretty poorly. I noticed, so it's fine.
No, you're fine. Don't worry. I guess the hardest thing for me personally, I guess, I would say body acting, simply because it's hard to get a lot of people or make them do exactly what you want to do, exactly how you pictured it.
Oh, yeah.
Bugs happen in games. Sometimes theater mode bugs out.
Oh yeah.
So I guess.
Oh, fuck. I remember when I've been in your bot act sessions. That happens like constantly. Holy fuck. Like someone is walking strangely and stuff.
Yeah. It's just stuff like that I find extremely difficult, because I can line up all the audio and stuff and just have to get all the body acting done. So I mean, I guess it's really just body acting for me. Audio though. Audio was such a pain for me to learn. It took me a while. I never really knew how to do audio that well until I watched someone else do it. Like a few years ago.
What do you mean with audio exactly? Do you mean like voice acting or?
No. Just like audio balancing and stuff like that. That was always a difficulty of mine in the past. I just didn't know how to do it
Okay.
that well.
Okay. What do you believe is the hardest part about? What do you believe is the hardest part, Red?
It's hard for me to say exactly.
Not being judged for using female armor.
No, I will, like, without the sounding too weird, I think with the whole, like, trans movement going up, for some reason nobody seems to question me after that all happened, which I was just like, okay, that's not really the reason, but I guess I'll just use that as a shield, because why not?
People, instead of people saying, you can't play at a female spawn, people's gonna think, are you trans?
Well, it's funny because, like I won't say any names, but, like, people in the machinima community who, like, would get mad at me for doing that, they came out in the last couple of years of being, like, super, like, pro-transgender and stuff like that, and, like, they never say it to me anymore. So I'm just like, okay, I guess that's fine, whatever. You were hounding me for years, but now that's, like, your like, banner that you're setting up, so whatever.
Double standard at its finest.
But yeah, I mean, as far as, like, I don't know, personally, I think, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, would you say, like, outside obligations counts as, like, making it difficult for
I mean, the
machinima?
entire process. I'm not meaning, like, I guess, like, for Hero explaining to someone machinima is. I mean, like, the entire process of making a Halo machinima. It could be the script writing, it could be the actual filmmaking, it could be, so what Hero said, audio editing, and, you know, getting people, voice acting, any part of the process. But it has to be the, you know, the process itself. It can't be that you're explaining, like, for something to someone else and something outside the machinima. It must be the process itself.
Yeah. I think for me, usually it's, it could either be, like, story writing, because I've been, like, trying to understand, like, what makes a story good, and the more I learn, the more I'm just like, wow, now I really understand why so many, like, movies nowadays are bad. So the more I learn about that, the more I'm like, oh, okay, now I need to apply that to my own stories to try to make them better, which I think that makes it harder to write scripts nowadays, because you have to, like, things have to happen for a reason. I would say maybe story writing, or usually just, like, small errors, things like that. Like, I mean, I'm using the Xbox 360 to record, like, most of my footage, and sometimes there will be, like, errors because, like, Microsoft no longer supports the OG Halo Reach and stuff like that, so that puts me on. Maybe, like, I'll record something on my computer and it won't go through or something like that. It's really just kind of like basic error stuff. It's not really so much trying to think, like,
it's those pesky technology bugs, you can say.
Yeah, I think it's, like, I don't know, I think that was one reason why I was kind of, like, skeptical about, like, 343 pulling, like, support for, like, the OG Halo, because Now, ever since they've done that, for some reason, my like OG Halo game is kind of like buggy, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's kind of weird that like now that they've taken it offline, for some reason, it has all these strange bugs. So
Yeah.
I don't know, part of stuff like that, but no, I'm not really entirely sure what I would say, because like making videos recently has kind of been a bit of a difficulty, because like I don't know, maybe body actors, I guess, because like when I start to make like bigger stuff, I kind of need body actors. I don't know. I think I'll stay with writing. I think writing is probably the hardest one, because if you're making something like big that you want to like be spectacular, you really have to like make sure you get the script right, because there have been times in the past where I've written something and then somebody will be like, well, why didn't they do this? And I'll be like, oh shoot, why didn't they do that? That would have changed the entire story, and it would have made the video like 5 minutes long instead of like 30 minutes long or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I do get that. For me personally, I can't say I have a lot of experience. I did start my early YouTube days doing machinima, but I can't say I have done that ever since. I believe the last one I did was what was it? I believe I called it Asking Out. That was the last one I did, and every other time it's been just attempts. But the hardest part for me is getting people, especially for body acting. And holy shit, like trying to get body acting is like trying to find a nail in a haystack. No, scratch that, because finding a nail in a haystack is actually feasible. But it's just a nightmare to get people, and at some points when I've gotten people in the early days, holy fuck, I just wanted to shoot everyone who was in the body acting session, because nobody wanted to shut the fuck up. Holy hell. I guess that just do this, and you just went on a rampage and got like a rocket launcher and just shot everybody, or assassinated this person or that person. And it was never anyone actually wanted to do it. It just felt like everyone was arguing, and I just wanted to blow my brains out.
Dang.
I mean, you really do just have to work with people. That's the really big thing about body acting.
Yeah. And I'm also very used with doing stuff on my own. Wait, go ahead.
What I would recommend doing to help you out with body acting is maybe like every like 10, 15 minutes, you have it to where like everyone can like kill each other or have fun. I don't know. I hear some people do that and it works for them. Or say you'll play custom games with them after the session if you don't feel like getting the footage right away.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair thing to do. I wish I had done that earlier, but yeah, I guess that's behind me now. Oh no, I just remembered. Asking Out was not the last one. It was Scripted Sequence. That was the last one I did. Holy shit. God damn, it was years ago. Man, I feel old. Yeah. Like, I'm only 20, but I feel like a corpse at some points. I don't know why I said it like in a British, like a corpse, but I feel like a corpse at some points. And yeah. But I guess that's it for this podcast. I realized this podcast has gone double the length I was expecting it to. It has gone. Guess how long it's gone? If you could guess.
2 hours.
Yes, I guess
yeah,
I
about
gave
2
it away.
hours.
Yeah, it has been going on for 2 hours, and I really appreciate you being able to be here for 2 hours. To be honest, I didn't expect us to talk about machinima for like an hour. I believe we have talked about it now. Yeah. So originally, I always thinking we were gonna do like mention a few stuff, but I guess this was really fun. Actually, really fun. So I'm not complaining, to be honest.
Yeah, it was fun to kind of go over the stuff and kind of think more about it, and just kind of consider and think of machinima in general, because it's kind of been off my mind lately with just Christmas holidays and stuff like that. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of good to start thinking about it again.
Yeah. And I hope you two have luck with all the difficulty. You said what's the hardest things for you?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
And if you ever need help with voice acting, I'm always here,
Shameless, I'll definitely always reach out.
But yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I guess we should do an outro. I guess I can start. At this point, I'm just going with a real well, thank you everyone for coming on this podcast, and it was a really fun time. You know, going for like a really low tone, but yeah. But thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. Hero and Red, do you have any final words before you've been sent back to the gulags? Nah, just kidding.
Just thanks for listening to me ramble about stuff for 2 hours, I guess. Red?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoy coming in and talking about this stuff.
And I'm very glad you two could come, and so it wouldn't be just me doing terrible jokes for 2 hours.
It's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and please subscribe to both Hero and Red. They make very great videos, and I'm actually in some of them. Maybe not as often in Reds, but Heroes I'm definitely in. Hopefully I'll be in Reds soon. Hopefully.
Most definitely.
Playing sad music. But also their discords will be in the description, as well as their channel, so please go check them both out. And yeah, if they have any, as you heard, they could use voice actors, so at least Red could, so just lend them a hand if you are willing to. And please subscribe to me as well, don't forget about me as well. And yeah, hope you all will have an amazing day. Goodbye everyone!